Yeah, look, there's a lot of vaccine hesitancy in PNG in general, and a lot of sort of lack of public understanding of COVID and the vaccines. But this is a decision for the PNG government. Public health authorities in Australia and in other countries of the world have said the actual risk of AstraZeneca is extremely, minute. In fact, and it's as the Prime Minister here has said, it's through an abundance of caution that we've adopted that measure. In Papua New Guinea, in the scenario where COVID-19 is the epidemic is now spreading very, very quickly, I think it's appropriate that the PNG government and the Australian AusMet team that are looking, they'll be looking at AstraZeneca is an appropriate vaccine to get out very quickly. I think there are other sources of vaccines coming into PNG through a global scheme called COVAX, which Australia has generously contributed to, along with other governments. And so there will be other sources of vaccines. Of course, the Chinese government have offered their own vaccines to 200,000 of them to the government of PNG. And the government of PNG will probably make their own assessments through their own medical testing of which vaccines they want to use. But they must, because the spread of the virus is very, very rapid through the community.
You've got an interesting poll out as well, which we'll just get up on the screen. It's quite interesting. It shows very strong support for the Australian government helping out PNG. I guess the question is, if people right now assume that doesn't come at any cost to Australia, the sort of vaccine nationalism in here, it's easy to say have some AstraZeneca. What about have some Pfizer? Do you think Australians would feel differently about that?
I don't think Pfizer is going to be as practical in a country like PNG because of the minus 70 temperatures it has to be kept at. In PNG,
although the latest advice suggests it's just initially a normal freezer and then refrigeration for 5 days for Pfizer. That's in the past couple of days, that advice.
Look, if that's the case, then it may be possible. Logistically, PNG is a very difficult country to roll out vaccine programs. Not impossible, but it's very mountainous. It's got so you have to fly into a lot of places to sort of work with local communities, and so transportation is going to be the issue as well as the conditions. So if that's feasible, it is possible. But I think AstraZeneca is the best one. I think the polling shows that Australians are incredibly generous. They realise that Papua New Guinea and Australia, there is a long association there going back to pre-independence times and the Second World War. We've got 20,000 Australian expats working up there. There's a lot of business interests and a lot of fly flow workers with the mining industry to and from Australia. So the relationship is strong and robust. And the 84% supporting Australian government in actually tackling the spread of COVID and PNG, I think reflects that relationship and that understanding that unless we can eradicate COVID in countries around Australia, it really makes a risk to Australian public health going forward. So it's in our national interest to do so.